Hey everyone, welcome down and thank you so much for supporting the Quest for the Open this year. In this video, you are going to see me take on regional qualifying, a stage which I've never managed to get past before. Let's see how we get on. Very nerve-wracking. I don't think I've ever felt more disappointed. A mental issue. So however far I think I've come technically with my game and however far I think I've progressed with the mental side of things, it's obviously not enough. You know, those structures weren't strong enough to hold up under that amount of strain.
On the tee, Peter Finch from Quest Golf.
And we are off and running on regional qualifying for the Open. I must admit, I planned thoroughly for this round. I was more prepared and more committed to this than possibly ever before, and every single bit of my planning went out of the window within the first 5 minutes because it was blowing 40 miles an hour, which was nice. I was due to hit a hybrid off the first and I ended up hitting a mini driver, finding the fairway and like cutting this 6-iron back into the breeze. My whole real plan at Coldy, because it is a difficult course, and in this wind, if we kind of show the rest of the scores at any point during this video as well, you will just see how tough it was. So all I wanted to do is find fairways, find greens, and take the big numbers off the scorecard. And that was the real key to trying to have a successful round. Now, I've recently had a lesson with Phil Kenyon, the world's best putting coach, and we've changed a lot within the stroke. A lot of it was to do with pace putting, which is not a strength of mine by any stretch of the imagination. And this putt on the first from like about 30 foot, to get it stone dead, it was a great start. It was a real confidence builder because my hands were shaking. I am very nervous at this point, but I managed to keep it together, stroke it really nice down to the hole, and I thought, okay, that's one of the hardest holes on the course out of the way. Not because of the difficulty, because of the situation. You know, we've got about 200 people watching this. It's obviously open qualifying. It means a lot. So I was confident stepping onto the second tee, and I snap hooked it about 30 yards left of the green, which isn't ideal. So the ball here to the side of the green is in a bit of a cupped lie, and it's a difficult shot. I'm hitting onto a fast green, and then it's straight onto a downslope here. I didn't actually get it going over with enough pace to get it really close to the hole. I left myself with about 12 feet. This was a massive putt. Early in the round, I don't want to drop a shot. I know something around level par is going to be a fantastic score in these conditions. So these types of putts, absolutely crucial. Went through my routine, hit it right out the middle, perfect pace, and in you go. I even added in a little bit of a pimp step there, which I don't normally do. Confidence flowing through my veins. Classic example of how things change from the practice round. So on this hole, I hit a mini driver, cutting it back into the wind, and it went about 240 in my practice round. This is a hybrid, and it went about 330 yards. How do you plan for that? This is one thing when you play in wind and how it's so difficult to predict what's going on. You know, I don't hit a hybrid 350 yards, but because of the conditions today I did. And I found one of the deepest divots on the golf course. It made me kind of put the ball in the back of my stance and hit like a low little chippy shot in towards the green. The wind just got hold of it, spun it and pushed it left into the greenside bunker. However, as part of my plan, I wanted to miss in certain places. Now this bunker, it's a hazard, it's not ideal. However, I'm hitting this bunker shot back into wind, which means I can be aggressive. And I managed to hit a really nice shot. I went beyond the pin, which means I'm going to be putting downwind, which means this putt is going to be a lot faster than it normally would be. But again, great putt, right in the middle, walking after it early. Now, this is something I never do. Check this shot out, a chip and run from about 100 yards, because ultimately from this distance into this wind, like what do I hit wedge-wise? It's not going to be controllable. So actually keeping the ball on the ground and hitting this little chip and run was the right choice, and using my imagination a little bit more and trusting my imagination a bit more is going to be absolutely crucial if I want to play well in these types of conditions. I left myself about 35 feet here for the birdie, which on a short par 4, you know, it's not ideal, but again, finding fairways, finding greens, giving myself chances even if they're on the outside. An actual fist bump. I never fist bump. Like, I never fist bump. Like in videos, in competitions, I generally try and keep things under wraps. I try and keep my emotions in check. But during this round, you're going to see it a little bit, like an actual proper fist bump. I'm just going to pause the video here for a moment. So the 5th hole, we've got out of bounds left, and the wind is hard into off the left-hand side. So I've got a choice here. I can send it out left, over the hazard, out over the estuary, and bring it back in on the wind. Now you might think that's the plan. However, to the right-hand side, where those people are gathered to the right of the marker post there, there's a water hazard and bushes. So it's actually a really narrow area to land this drive on a par 5. It's a shot which has been giving me, not exactly nightmares, but I've been anxious about this drive ever since I said I was going to do the video at Coldy. And it stems from Rick when he did open qualifying here last year, and he sprayed his tee shot into the hazard on the right. I've not been able to get that image out of my head. So I set up to this ball, and I just said to myself, hit a low draw, back into wind, find the fairway. You've got this, you've practiced this shot, you have the ability to be able to play it. honestly, so proud of that tee shot, and I found myself relaxed a touch after that. It felt like there was a bit of pressure being lifted. This approach into the par 5, I was trying to lay up. Laying up on a par 5 for me, for some reason, is so difficult. Again, I just tried to hit a low hook back into the wind. I overdid it a little bit, and it kind of scampered into the rough near the out of bounds, but it was never going to be going out of bounds. I was quite happy, quite comfortable with that. Left myself a bit of a tricky lie, straight back into wind, 100 yards. Couldn't run it up purely because of the bunker there, so I chose a little 9-iron, and it kind of knuckled out of this lie. So 0 spin, bore through the wind, pitched at the back of the green, and then carried on through. I did have a chipping lesson a few weeks ago though, and I was feeling pretty confident.
Be so good, be so good, be so good. Oh!
So that's a par. I am 1 under, going into statistically the hardest hole on the course. I tried to play that little low draw, just overdid it. A little bit of a kind of a snapper down the left-hand side of the fairway. Honestly, absolutely fine. I didn't want to go in those fairway bunkers. You cannot get anywhere near the green from there. Five iron here, going back into the wind. Kind of got ahead of it a touch and flared it out to the right-hand side. A bit of a bailout, bit of a safe shot with the out of bounds to the left. And it left me with just a pitch. Kind of straight into the wind, over this gully. Not an easy shot by any means, and the lie again wasn't great, so I knew it was going to release a little bit. It's always difficult to judge though, hitting back into wind, because the strength of this wind, it was so hard to explain. Like 30-40 miles an hour is so hard to control your ball in. This was a really good solid putt. I just overhit it, too much pace, went through the break and left me with like a little twitchy 2-footer here. Par 5 downwind and a chance to actually unleash. So it's out of bounds all down the left-hand side. Wind is off our right shoulder here, pushing the ball towards the out of bounds. So I'm aiming here about 20 yards to the right of that target line, because the rough to the right of this hole again is quite sparse. So I knew that I could absolutely smash it and still have a chance of getting to the green if it didn't find the fairway. Fortunately, it did. It hit the right-hand side and it kicked on lovely. And I have to look at the stats, but I think that went about 370 yards. And with the wind, it left me a sand wedge into a par 5. Now, you might say, Pete, well, that's easy. You should be looking at an eagle here. If you've ever hit a sand wedge 160 yards, look how high it goes. Because I've got to go over a water hazard here as well. So it's not like I can run it in. I'm hitting it up into the air and I'm just hoping that it's pitching in and around the green and it stays where I want it to. It ran off to the left-hand side. Got a little bit of an unlucky bounce to go up this hill as well. So I took the putter out and all I wanted to do was have a 2-putt birdie. Just look at that flag. Look how much it is whipping. I hit a decent putt here. Probably my first little bit of routine, which wasn't perfect. I didn't quite judge the first half of this putt when it got on the green was downhill. So a little bit of a lapse of concentration. Left myself a putt up the hill, right to left. However, the wind is pushing it a little bit to the right. So it ended up being quite a straight read. Again, great routine, really good looking setup if I say so myself. Lovely pace to that stroke. And because the pace was good, it just dropped in the right hand side. Back to 1 under par. The secret for me in this round is just trying to get through the front 9 level par. Most of the competitors in open qualifying, if they didn't get through, they lost their scores on the front nine. I overhit this tee shot, but I wanted to be long rather than short. I didn't want to be in that front bunker hitting downwind. This lie was, again, a little bit awkward, like quite a bit of grass behind the ball, and I just didn't accelerate through enough hitting into wind to get it down towards the hole. So I left myself an 18-footer for par. But I am putting well. I'm feeling so much more confident on the greens now, and it's an invaluable weapon to have. Because if you don't play great, if you don't strike it well, you can still have a good round if your putting is on point. And today it was. This was a great putt. It was just outside left. It just didn't turn. It stayed dead straight. But pace-wise, you can see the ball rolling end over end. Really nice stroke. Oh, the mini driver. What a club. What an absolute weapon to have in the arsenal. I drilled this straight over the corner, great drive, actually ran out of fairway. This perhaps was one of my favourite shots of the day. So my two playing partners were further towards the fairway. They hit pretty good approaches, but because of the wind, because of the firmness of the course, the balls bounced through and ended up in the hazard to the left of this green. So what I thought is I'm going to aim right, I'm going to pitch this on the front right of the green, and I'm going to trust that the wind and the bounce will take it all the way to the left and leave me an uphill putt, and that is exactly what happened. Honestly, I think that was my most disciplined shot of the day. Really happy with it. Leaves me this uphill putt for a birdie. As this putt dribbled past the hole, maybe the first time the crowd actually made me feel nervous, because everyone's been really happy, really supportive, clapping pretty much every shot. There wasn't a murmur after this putt, because it left me that little 3-foot awkward distance, and nobody wants to have these when the pressure is on. But I do have a little bit of a newfound confidence. My setup, my routine, everything was pretty much bang on. And it's just a great stroke. Straight back up the hill, into the heart of the hole. And that takes me around 9 holes of level par. I know deep down that at this point, I'm in a good spot. I can keep this going. I can do this. A bit of belief actually started to kind of flow through my system, but I remember backing off from this tee shot because I wasn't quite going through my routine. And then I went through my routine, hit a draw back into the wind with a 5, and then let the wind push it to the right and onto the green for potentially my best iron shot of the day to about 12 foot. I believe the saying is fell in love with the line. So I left it right in the jaws of the hole, just short. Ah, it looked so good. I knew the line. Oh man. I was still a bit disappointed at that, but it was a tough hole, a par 3, and onto a par 5. And let me just talk you through this. So this was the first time that I almost changed out my strategy. On the par 5s, what I wanted to do was be aggressive. I wanted to go for birdies because there's so many hard holes out here at Caldy that I am going to need some under par holes. There's no way I'm going to go bogey free on a day like today's. Almost impossible in many respects. Now on this hole, it's a dogleg left to right. Now to carry the out of bounds and the greenkeeper shed on the right hand side, it's about 320 yards, which I can't do in normal conditions. However, it was straight downwind. So I knew I had the power. I knew I had the potential to get over this right-hand side. So driver was the play. And this will come up again a little bit later in the round. Having confidence in my preparation, knowing my carry distances, knowing the holes. And ultimately, I actually struck this fantastic. Went through my routine, but I just didn't quite commit. There was something in my mind that just wouldn't let me hit it that far right. So I just pulled it just a touch to the left-hand side. And my heart was in my mouth a little bit because there's a few bushes down here. But I hit this ball so bloody hard that it went through our fairway, went over the rough, and actually went onto the 14th tee. And it left me obviously with a good lie. A little bit tricky because I've got to get over these trees. Can't quite see the pin, but it's only a wedge coming into this par 5. And I've landed it perfect, just short of the green, used the wind, used the bounce to carry it up onto the right-hand side. I've got an eagle chance. This is a massive point in the round. How good did that look? How good did that putt look? It was in all the way. And look at that fist bump. Jeez, I think you can probably tell how amped up I was and how I was feeling it. Look at that breath. Oh God. In all fairness, that breathing, I was doing that throughout the entire round, just trying to keep myself, without sounding too meditative about it, trying to keep myself centered, trying to keep myself in control, trying to go through my process, go through my routine. Another good tee shot here. It was a difficult hole, out of bounds to the right-hand side. This might be my best shot of the day. Into wind, down the hill, about 220 yards, and I wanted to land it short and then run it onto the green. So effectively a massive chip and run. And I used my 4-iron, just hit this low little draw. The crowd loved it, I loved it. It just carried on going, it just didn't stop. And then it ended up over the back of the green. And even though on a chip shot, normally you're thinking, oh, let's just get it close. This was actually a little bit of course management. So I hit this chip with more power than it needed, because if I wanted to get it really close to this hole, I'd have had to land it just on the green and potentially leave a shot where I don't reach. So leaving myself 15 foot past for a par, I was actually quite confident and comfortable knowing that even if I didn't hole this, I'd still be on the par after the eagle, and I've got a stretch of holes coming up where I can make more birdies. So just a bogey there was fine. It didn't worry me, it didn't affect me, it calmed me, if anything. ...350 yards on this par 4. I just hit a little fade back into the wind, allowing it to be held and then push forwards, because I know from my course prep that there is a bank to the left-hand side which should kick the ball out to the right-hand side. And I almost, hey Carly, kept it on the green. It just rolled off the backside. For me, a putter from here was the obvious choice. It wasn't my best putt. Again, putting off the green is something which I've struggled with a touch this year, mostly because of pace control. This putt was actually pretty good for me. It's downhill once it gets on the surface but into wind. So judging that balance is tricky, especially, like I said, with the strength of what was going on. Now I had this putt on the right edge. The read was good. Everything was comfortable. I was happy with what was happening, but then I just didn't quite hit it with the pace it needed, and it just dribbled off to the left-hand side. So a par on a drivable par 4, not ideal, but again, I'm 1 under par, open qualifying. I know that level is an exceptional score. Now, the reason I say that is because when we got to the golf course, there had been about maybe 7 or 8 groups which had actually come in. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I think maybe only 2 players out of all those very, very good golfers had shot in the 70s. Everyone else was in the 80s. So I knew looking at that snapshot early on, and the wind was pretty similar all day, that if I had a level par score, I wouldn't be guaranteed to get in, but it'd be pretty hard to keep me out of those automatic spots to get through to final qualifying if I did. It was a bit of a pull on this tee shot and absolutely clattered into middle stump, and it kicked it all the way out into the middle of the fairway, just like I planned in all my pre-round prep. So got away with one. Got away with one on that tee shot. And I left myself, again, a hard shot. It's uphill, the green is raised, into wind off the left-hand side. So I just wanted to hit like a little draw 9 back towards the flag. On this occasion, I just overdid it. You can see me here looking at the wind, trying to judge what is going on because we're a little bit sheltered with the trees. But as soon as that ball gets above the level of those branches, it's going to get absolutely battered. This one, I just started out that little bit too far left. Just a slight overdraw, and it kicks off the bank here to the left of the flag and shoots off the green. Tricky 2-putt. Oh man, this was a hard putt. Pressure was on here. Nerves were jangling. What a putt. That is a great angle to see that as well. Get it. '15th hole. We are closing in on what could be a fantastic round. Still under par. Short little tricky hole here. Just an iron off the tee. Wind off the right hand side and down. All the fairway sloping off to the right hand side. But it's just like some light rough down here. Actually missing this fairway isn't the end of the world, and it left me only 100 yards to the pin. Again, following the practice rounds and following all my pre-planning, all I wanted to do here was land it short of the green and let it roll up. And I did that really well, leaving myself an 18-footer straight up the hill. 400-yard par 4, and I think I can get close to the green. I hit a really good shot, but I just missed my landing point. In fact, I didn't. I thought there was something weird after I hit the shot. So this hole, it's pretty straight. It's pretty much straight down, wind off the right-hand side. And the fairway just feeds very gently after the bunkers on the right-hand side towards the green. The green is raised at the front, and then it goes pretty steeply downhill, and then there's like a Mackenzie halfway. So if you get it cresting the front of the green, it'll roll down, and then it'll be slowed by the Mackenzie, and the pin was on the back center of the surface. So I knew if I got a good drive away, even though it's 400 yards, I could probably breach the front of the green and actually roll it down towards the pin. Sounds crazy, but you know, it's a good chance for an eagle on this hole, even though it's so long. And I'm just looking at this tee shot, and I thought I'd hit a really good ball. And I had. This was really good. It left me with one of the most difficult short game shots I've faced in a while. To get this ball close to the pin, and I can't even go straight at the pin here, I have to land it just over the bunker on the right, in like a little hollow, so there's a deader bounce, and it will release on because it is downwind. Now I'm aiming here to finish the ball to the right of the pin and leave myself a little uphill putt. So again, the discipline to be able to not go for the hole from this type of distance was lacking in the last few years. My mental approach and my decision making was just so much better this round. And I hit my spot perfectly, leaving myself a little uphill putt left to right. What a great putt that was. So happy. And what that does, it puts me 2 under par with 2 to play. Both 17 and 18 are dangerous holes. You know, we can make big numbers here if we don't concentrate. So I managed to snap my attention back pretty much straight away. Beyond this pin is a bunker, short is water. So I erred on the side of caution, struck a lovely pitching wedge. I didn't want it to get knocked down because it's downwind. And actually hit a decent shot. It only just crept into the bunker. But this lie, oh my God. Have we zoomed in on this at any point, mate?
I can do.
Honestly, it's semi-plugged with all the sand behind the ball. So I knew that I could hit this relatively hard. It's back into wind. I'm going to try and get as much elevation as possible. And if it finishes past the hole, absolutely fine. People were getting nervous. Yeah, so that's water down there. It's fine. I still don't know why everyone was getting so antsy about that. I had full control. There was no problems. All I need to do is leave myself an uphill putt here, a little 2-putt. Again, actually lacking in pace. So there's a few instances in this round where, again, my pace putting wasn't quite up to scratch, where I left the ball short of the hole. However, having said that, I would rather be leaving it that far short than hitting it 6 foot past, which has been the problem. 1 under par, last hole, par 5. Out of bounds all the way down the right hand side, thick trees and a water hazard to the left. We're at this point where open qualification, getting through regionals, is something which I've always struggled with. It's always been a huge mental hurdle. I've always believed that I've had the ability to get through this point. You know, I've been playing well enough in the last few years to give myself that confidence, but the crippling amount of kind of anxiety that I felt during open qualification in the past has really just put me in a shell that I've been unable to get out of. So on this last tee, I have a choice. Do I hit a 4-iron or an iron to the left and play this hole as like a pure par 5, really try and take the big number out of the equation? Or do I stick to my process? Do I stick to my plan? Because I know exactly how far I can hit this driver and on what line to carry all the trouble and pitch it on the fairway and give myself a short iron into this green. And I'm so proud, no matter what happens, that I stuck to my plan and I had the courage and I had the cojones to actually hit this shot.
I can honestly say that over those first 14 holes, I didn't have a clue where that ball was going. Not a clue.
Yeah, which is not ideal.
I couldn't feel anything. God, so annoying.
And the question is really, do we continue? And is it worth it?
I'd be happy to hit the ball as well as Pete hit it today. So it's not a physical thing, it's a mental thing. So he needs a better attitude. So he can't be disappointed with less than perfection.
Very first thing that was very noticeable was the weight of expectation that he placed on himself.
This is a process. It's a process. It's a process. Okay?
Right. Yeah, I need a drink. The stick's in the car. Do one sec. Back in a second. I was going to dump this stuff in the car. A moment to myself. Cheers, bud. Thank you.
So as you can see from the leaderboard, I qualified. And I actually was joint first place in open qualifying, which is unbelievable. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud that I managed to get through this regional stage, which honestly has just been a massive mental block and a massive mental hurdle. And the work that I've been putting in this year on that side of the game, really happy that I managed to get through this point. And it was a little bit emotional after the round. Managed to keep myself in check, which is nice. Managed to keep my stiff upper lip firmly intact.
I am British and I will not show emotion.
Because I am a man. But even though this is a great achievement for me and it validates a lot of work that we've done, this is ultimately the first stage. I have 2 more rounds now on the same day at Dundonald Links. That is taking place on Tuesday, and I'm going to be playing with 2 European Tour pros. The field is stacked. We have Lee Westwood playing, we have Adrian Moronk playing, we have my swing hero Alex Noren playing. It's going to be quite the day. It's going to be quite the experience, and ultimately 36 holes away from being at the Open. Let's see how we go.